الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد. All praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the enabler, the creator, the sustainer, the one who has given us life and the one who establishes and sends death. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this blessed day for us, inshallah, make it a day of acceptance to attend yet another day of ibadah, worship, a day that was written for you to be here today and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى القبول والتوفيق. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us success and to understand the importance of this day and to continue on the straight path, inshallah. The topic of our khutbah today, and it's a very important topic. It's something that is discussed often. However, sometimes we need to pause and further delve into it. And we have that tadabbur that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about of the Quran. The Quran has been sent to us as a guide, as an opportunity for us to make the right choice. It provides for you verses from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that not only have a beautiful rhyme to it and it connects together, but there's a message and there's a risala and there's a meaning. If we were to get a message from anyone, from your parents or from your boss or from your professor, whatever, we mark it as important and we star that message and we keep it and we pay attention to those messages. How about if this came from your Khaliq, from your Creator? How do you recognize this message and what do you do? Because it's not just, yes, I understand, I appreciate it, but then I just a'rad an al-dhikr, I turn away because I got busy with other things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down this book that provides the sole reason for our hadaf in this hayat, sole reason for our purpose. And as people who live in the West, it's very easy to forget our purpose. When we first come to this country, we are still very sort of excited. We come from countries that have masajid, more prominent masajid. It's part of our daily life. It's something that we grew up with. We grew up with the deen. But when we come here to a society like this Canadian society, and some of us are born here. I myself have been born and raised here. However, we look to societies and we see that this society, it sort of is a godless society, a society that is built on secularism. So we have to understand in a space where you cannot find enough spirituality to keep your heart alive and to keep your minds awake and alert, and knowing that this life is al-hayat hadi thaniya, it's moving quickly and it's depleting. What are we doing in this one chance we have to make it right? We start off with an ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and it's a very well-known ayah, He says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And this ayah we know since we were kids. Surah Al-Dhariyat. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's saying, I have not created mankind and jinn, which is the other form of creation. I have not created these two species to exist on this earth except for one hadaf, one purpose, one goal. لِيَعْبُدُونَ لِلْعِبَادَةِ خُلِقْتُمْ لِلْعِبَادَةِ. You were created to worship. Some people say, brother, what do you mean created to worship? You know, we have a lot of youth say, I have no idea what's going on, brother. Can you just explain it all to me? We were created to worship. This heart and this body needs to be filled with something to keep it moving. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, I have created you for worship. And you have the choice to choose this worship or not to choose this worship. Because today is a day of amal bila hisab. It's a day of action without any accountability. And ghadan, tomorrow is a day of hisab bila amal. Tomorrow is a day of accountability and no action. So it's a very serious matter. We've checked that off. The next step, we go and say, okay, what is this ayah really telling us? How can we really نتدبر في هذه الآية? How can we really sort of delve into this understanding of this ayah and say, what is Allah wanting from me in this ayah? This is an ayah we hear in Taraweeh, in Ramadan, we recite it, we do many khatmat al-Quran, but did we really understand one verse and did we apply it after Ramadan? So we're taking one ayah. And I'm a very, as a person, I focus very much on tafsir of the ayat. Why? Because Allah has a message for you. There's multi-layers of meanings in one verse. It can change your life, one verse. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. He established that He is Al-Khattab. To say, I have created this. That's something, no questions or no arguments, no ifs or buts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the creator, the sustainer, the one who takes and gives. الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةِ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. To see who's of you are doing the righteous deeds. وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْغَفُورُ. And He's also most powerful and most forgiving as well. So we established the fact that He's Al-Khattab. He is the creator, the sustainer, the one who has given us everything. He says, I created you for one purpose, for worship. Now, what does this mean? This means, brother, am I just praying? The youth will say, what do I have to do to make sure I'm okay? There's multi-levels of understandings. The first is the 5 pillars of Islam. As we know, some scholars say the 5 pillars enter you into the fold of the deen. You have to push and you have to be of those يَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, O you who believe, where you are believing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His messengers, His malaika, His angels, His kutub, His books and His rusul, everything. It's not just say, I'm a Muslim, I pray and I fast Ramadan and call it a day. That's not how it works. It's a lifestyle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you, and He wants every part of you back to Him. We will go back to Him, but He wants you to choose this hidayah. He wants you to choose this deen and enjoy the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A few brothers came to me and they said, this Ramadan was so amazing. On the contrary, every Ramadan we have someone say, this Ramadan was amazing, more amazing than last year. It was just different. Do you know why it's different? And do you know why it's comfortable? And do you know why Ramadan, and so on? It's very simple to answer this question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ra'd, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمِئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. Verily, with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do the hearts find rest. We were busy throughout the year with our jobs, our education, our careers, money, family, vacations, gatherings, invitations, food. We get busy. But Ramadan was a time when you تفرغ لعبادة الله. You took time out of your job You took time out of your regular life to establish the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thus you found it so comfortable. Allah made you enjoy it because that's the purpose you were created for. If you were to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like you worship Him in Ramadan till the end of your time, it's not enough to repay back Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what He has done for you. As He is the Creator, He is Al-Khattab. It's enough, and we know many of the hadith and many of the stories we hear, that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were to put your eyesight in the scale, or put one faculty of senses or anything, one item on your scale to outweigh all your good deeds. It's not a fair, there's no reason to compete with Allah, or no reason to say, oh Allah, I'm so good, I've worshipped for so many years, I've done this, وَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do not aspire purity to oneself, because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only He knows who is righteous, and only He knows who has won Ramadan and has gained its virtues and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the purpose of this khutbah is to say that we were created to worship. And if you are struggling in your life today as a youth, or a young man or young girl, or a young Muslim in this country, or wherever you are, and you're saying, my iman goes up and down. And we know al-iman yazidu bil-ta'ah, iman goes up with obedience to Allah, وَيَنْقُصُ بِالْمَعْصِيَةِ, and it goes down with sin. So the more you sin, the more bad you feel, because you know that something's not right. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. It's something we know, it's fitrah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, basically what He's trying to tell you is that I have created you on fitrah. When a child is born to this earth, it knows that it's pure. Allah said, I brought you pure, I will take you back pure. Inna Allah tayyib, la yaqbilu illa tayyib. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pure, and He only accepts what's pure. That's why we are told to establish the 5 daily prayers. These are elements of purification from sin to sin. Salawat, it's purified. The hadith says if someone were to take a shower or a bath 5 times a day in the river, would not he be cleansed? The same thing with salah. Salah is a purification process. It is an opportunity of ibadah if we truly know how to do it. And with every action, it requires sincerity and correctness. It requires you to establish that salah with a proper understanding of who you're praying to, knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your khaliq, that He can take you back to Him at any time He wants. So He says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ لِلْعِبَادَةِ مَا أُرِيدُ مِنْكُم مِّن رِزْقٍ وَلَا أُرِيدُ أَن يُطْعِمُونَ. I don't need anything from you, O mankind or jinn. I don't need rizq from you. I don't need anything in return. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He is rich and He is self-sufficient. He gives us and it does not take anything away from Him. So when we sit and understand this, and we sort of gently teach our children and our youth about this, saying that, look, without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, me as your father or me as your mother, we can't make it. I'm sure each and every single one of us has a story to tell about how the journey with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought you to where you are today. Maybe you started somewhere, but you ended up somewhere else. You made a request to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He fulfilled it. Our purpose is to ensure the next generation is coming. Even within ourselves, our children, our neighbors, our community, are they on the same wavelength of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's message of the Quran and Sunnah? The deen didn't change. The book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't change. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his message did not change. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not change, but we change. When people say times have changed, brother, this worship we're talking about is old news. This is for the elders. When I grow older, I'll make hajj when I get 50, 60, 70. But Allah talks about, and the hadith says, when a young man or young woman, they grow up in Islam, they'll be shaded under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yawm al-qiyamah. What about that part? How come sometimes as youth we think we have enough time? We think we have, I'll worship Allah, but my time, my way, my style does not work. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has certain protocols, and there's so much to say about this one verse. I cannot complete it in this khutbah. But I have to repeat the same message in the second khutbah as well. But we will be talking about the basics, the asas, the foundation of this very verse. And there are many like this, by the way. We will delve into the understanding of al-ibadah. What does this mean? Ibadah is not just salah. Ibadah is the way you talk. Ibadah is the way you deal business with each other. Some people may be excellent people who pray in the musalla, but when it comes to business, he is the worst man Allah created. Bil'iyadu billah. Or some people may look great, but he speaks filth. Or he may harm someone, or he backbites, or he hurts others. And the hadith says, and again, we are not introducing anything new, we're just bringing back the hadith or the ayat and understanding it deeper. The hadith says, whoever man shatama hada wa qadhafa hada, whoever said backbiting or did this, faqad habita amaluhu, all his actions will be gone. Even if they were the size of Jibal Tuhama, even if they were as big as mountains, because he did 1, 2, 3, just because you prayed and fast doesn't mean anything. Obviously, you do one thing, but then you forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أَعْرَضَ عَنَ الذِّكْرِ. You turned away. And we will mention a bit more about this in the second part of the khutbah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established our purpose, our hadaf, our reason for being here. We were not created abathan, we were not created for no purpose. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسان, does the human being think, إِنْ يَتْرُكَ سُدًى, he'll think he'll be left alone just like that, to do whatever he wants, at his will? Did he do anything for himself had I not provided for him? Provided a mother and a father and a community and an imam and righteous friends and a risala and a prophet and the sahaba and the whole earth and the sun and the moon and the stars. Allah said, I have done everything for you. All He's asking for you is submission, which is to be a righteous, sincere Muslim and a mu'min and a muhsin, inshaAllah. Those who turn away, those who get caught up in this life. The ayat explains clearly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Taha, towards the end of it, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي, whoever turns away from my remembrance, from my worship, my ibadah, he had everything but he ran and he went somewhere else. He skipped his prayers. He mistreated his family. He was not a person who thought well of the deen. He turned away. وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. He will have a hard life in this life. The scholars say, a hard life in this life and a life in the barzakh when he passes away. It will be much more difficult underground. فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. We are all looking for comfort. If there's one thing we all look for is a better life. That term is used all the time. I left my country for a better life. I study harder for a better life. Everything for a better life. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised you a better life though. He promised you a good life in this world and the next. But it requires a few major requirements. That you establish the deen. You establish prayers. And it's in our ayat. He says, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ. Same Surah Allah. وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. Establish prayer. And be very sincere with it, very patient. It's not going to be easy. Fajr is at 4:30. It comes in at 3 o'clock. That's not easy. By any means, it's not easy. وَاصْطَبْرَ عَلَيْهَا لَا نَسْأَلُكَ رِزْقًا. Again, every time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala establishes al-ibadah, salah, he mentions rizq after. Because the rizq will get in the way of your ibadah. The rizq will get in the way of your ibadah. Whether a job, whether an interview, whether a meeting, whether a wedding, whatever the case may be, somehow this rizq will test your iman on ibadah. Allah then says, لا نسألك رزقا نحن نرزقك. He says, I give you sustenance again. وأمر أهلك بالصلاة نحن نرزقك. Order your families to pray and be firm on salah. I will give you sustenance. Don't worry about it. What's the first thing you do if you need something? People say, oh, I go ask this person, or I go ask this. Ask Allah first. He's the one who created you, He's the one who sustained you, and He's the one who will give you. This is a very short introduction to a very big topic. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us, to make us understand just a quick introduction to a very small ayah, but there's so much more to get into it, inshallah. As I promised, inshallah, we will get into it and further understand our purpose in this life, inshallah, and for the hereafter. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين المسلمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين المسلمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين المسلمين وأذل الشرك المشركين اللهم انصر أهلنا في فلسطين اللهم انصر أهل المسجد الأقصى وانصر أهله يا رب العالمين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للإيمان أن آمنوا فآمنا ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار وتوفنا مع الأبرار ربنا وآتنا ما وعدتنا على رسلك ولا تخزنا يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله استقيم واعتدلوا تراص. Please make sure you do not forget your brothers and sisters in sujood, inshallah. This is the best place to make dua for anyone all over the world, inshallah. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين كلا إذا بلغت التراقي وقيل من راق وظن أنه الفراق والتفت الساق بالساق إلى ربك يومئذ المساق فلا صدق ولا صلى ولكن كذب وتولى ثم ذهب إلى أهله يتمطى أولى لك فأولى ثم أولى لك فأولى أيحسب الإنسان أن يترك سدى ألم يك نطفة من مني يمنى ثم كان علقة فخلق فسوى فجعل منه الزوجين الذكر والأنثى أليس ذلك بقادر على أن يحيي الموتى الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.